Thank you to our sponsors for today's video: InfyPower, Amber, StarCharge, and Nokian Tyres. InfyPower is the largest EV charger module provider with over 3 million power modules running reliably worldwide. Their latest G2 collection features ultra-high power density and efficiency for EV charging and energy storage integration. InfyPower, innovation for your power. Amber offers a modern extended warranty for your Tesla's battery and more without the burden of long-term contracts or upfront payments. Check out the link in the description below to browse their plan options and get started with a free over-the-air diagnostic check. This video is also brought to you by StarCharge, the largest EV charging manufacturer in the world, and is also a provider of residential and commercial battery storage as well as microgrid solutions. And Nokian Tyres, a leader in safety and sustainability. Maximize performance and efficiency with their made-in-USA all-season tires and their dedicated Hakkapeliitta EV winter line from the inventor of the winter tire. Learn more at nokiantyres.com/EV.
Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. Today you're joining me, Branden Flash, with a 2024 Kia EV6 Wind rear-wheel drive, and we're going to be doing the 10% road trip challenge. So as I mentioned, this is a 2024 Kia EV6 Wind rear-wheel drive. So this is kind of the mid-tier model. This has the large battery pack, about 77 kilowatt hour. This is the pre-refresh, so the smaller battery pack 2025 will be having a bigger battery pack. We have the 19-inch wheels. We're inflated to manufacturer recommended tire pressures at cold. We're waiting for this EVgo station to open up so that we can get full power. And then we're going to be charging for 15 minutes at a full power DC fast charger, and then driving at 80 miles per hour back down to 10%. And that's how we kind of evaluate how good of an EV is at road tripping. So as we wait for the station to open up, let me show you the car a little bit. We're on Kumho Krugen HP71 EVs. These are 255/55 R19 101H tires. There we have the Ioniq 6 pulling out, EV9, and we have a Nero Kona. I always get those mixed up. But yeah, this one has HDA. It's a very nice car. It is actually a Hertz rental here in Austin, Texas, and it has about 3,000 miles on it. So got pretty lucky with this one. Well, this charging station is now open, so I'll get full power. This is a 350 kilowatt unit. The EV6 will max about 240 or so kilowatt. So I'm going to activate the EVgo station, and then I will start a timer on my watch as we plug in. Or at least once the contactors click. Let me turn the car back on. Been sitting here with it off since it hit 10%. So there you can see 10% state of charge. I also have an OBD dongle running, so it's 14.5% BMS state of charge, but 10.5 displayed. And the battery is warm, so we should get full charging speeds. So let me activate it and then we'll plug in. Normally it lets you start charging first. Let's see if this works. And then plug in. This thing has the really dumb flap. This thing is so stupid. That is a handful. So let's go over here, see if it actually is starting to. Okay, so I need to activate it and then we'll start. All right, station is activated. I'm listening for contactors, and then I have a timer ready to go. We're doing our handshake. Contactors on the charger clicking. We're not charging yet on the vehicle side. It would show on the right side there. Don't know why. There we go. Starting a 15-minute timer. There we go. Let's see the ramp up. Session details. It's a nice thing with EVgo. So we should get right up to 240 kilowatts as soon as it finishes ramping. and this will max about 350 amps. Already over 200 kilowatts. Might need to just ramp here, but it should hit about 240 kilowatts max. And then of course, as we're charging here, I do have HVAC on because we're simulating a real world scenario. And when you're on a road trip, you're probably going to be leaving climate on while you're charging, just to keep the cabin comfortable, whether you're sitting in the car, or whether you're running into the store, whatever the case may be, you probably want to keep your cabin nice and cool. And just shy of 6 minutes in, we're already up to 37%, still holding at 231 kilowatts. It's been slowly ramping up as the pack voltage has been coming up. This vehicle is just an absolute charging monster. So very interested to see what the result is. I think this is going to be a fairly long 10% challenge at 80 miles per hour here in Texas. 7.5 minutes in, so halfway through the charging portion, we're at 45% state of charge. So we've already added 35% to the battery in 7.5 minutes, which is really excellent. Still creeping up here. I think we're going to hit 240 as we get closer to like 55%. This charging curve is bonkers. This is by far the best charging vehicle under $100,000. It seems we've maybe hit a thermal threshold here about 9 minutes in. We're at 188 kilowatts at 52%. Looks like we're at 40 C minimum cell temp, 46 max. Inlet temp is 35 C, so doesn't seem to be struggling to cool that much, but the inlet temp is kind of what tells you that it's cooling. So we'll see how much farther we get. A little over 5 minutes left, and we're already at 53%. Thinking we'll probably get to like 65%, but we'll see how the charging does. Well, it does seem like we are thermal throttling. We still have just under 2 minutes left. We're at 67%, and we're down to 120 kilowatts. The cooling system seems to be ripping. And from my experience with these, if you leave the HVAC running, it does seem to impact cooling performance. And it's also worth noting that this particular one, being a rear-wheel drive, does not have a heat pump. So the all-wheel drive EV6s and Ioniq 5s, they have a heat pump and can precondition the battery. This cannot. So that's definitely a difference here. But I made sure to drive it quite a bit this morning, and it is 80 degrees outside, and it was parked in a pretty warm parking garage overnight. So the battery is definitely warm to start with. Not like too warm, but warm enough that we got peak performance. Well, 7 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. And then I'm going to stop here. There we go. We'll get the session details in just a second. Unplug. While that's processing, we'll put the little stupid plug back in. Shut that. Wow, this is slow. There we go. 48.87 kilowatt hour added. We added 61% to the battery. I'm going to hop in the car, turn it on fully. Going to reset the trip once we get it back on. We're going to use the accumulated trip because apparently you can't have a trip A and a trip B in these cars, which is just crazy. And then we're going to head north on the toll road here in Austin, Texas area, and set the cruise at 80. We'll verify that it is in fact GPS 80 miles per hour. So if that means setting it at 81. And based on my previous driving, which was pretty quick, given the 80 mile per hour speed limits, 167 miles remaining. So I think this is going to be a monster of a 10% challenge, but we shall see. Look at that. That's a Spark EV, I think. Domino's one, though. Those are pretty cool. So we've got a quick little jaunt to get onto the interstate. We'll just take a right here and then hop right on and we'll set cruise control. So we're gonna drive until we get to 40% or so, and then we'll turn around and do the same. So it's gonna be a long test here. Well, we're settled in at 80 miles per hour, verified that 80 indicated is actual 80 GPS. I just have the nav set to somewhere about 40 miles north, and we're just going to drive and enjoy. We have climate set to 68, driver only, auto, low fan, and we're just gonna keep cruising along until we get to about 30%, and then we'll turn around. Or sorry, yeah, 30%. Apparently I can't math this morning. We're gonna be turning it around at about 40%. Because that will be the halfway point, since we charged to 71%. We're taking half of the difference between ending state of charge and 10%. We're doing our best to not draft anyone and not block too much traffic. 80 mile per hour speed limits makes this a bit easier because most people are passing here in Texas. Well, we're exiting at 44 miles driven, a little bit sooner than I'd like. But just due to the way that the roads and cities and stuff lined up. So we'll end up going past the starting point and then looping back up just to make it a loop style test to counteract wind, elevation, all that fun stuff. So we're turning back around here, and then we'll get back on. So lovely thing in Texas is that you have these turnarounds, so you can actually get right back on without stopping. So that's pretty slick. So we're doing exactly that. We're turning around in Belton, and then we'll get right back up to 80 miles per hour and continue on. So see you guys at the next turnaround point, since we're gonna be going past the original starting point. So I'll kind of give you guys an update when we get back to the starting point. We just crossed to 40%, which is the halfway point, with 65 miles driven. So that puts us about 130 miles for the overall 10% challenge, which is an incredible result if that's holds. And considering we added about 49 kilowatt hour, 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour, which is what we're averaging right now, that does add up. So I'll be very impressed if we get 130 miles. I think that puts it in the top 5 vehicles that have been tested for the 10% challenge here on Out of Spec. So very, very curious. And even more interesting is that we're not at elevation here in Austin, Texas. We're at under 1,000 feet above sea level. So if you did this test at 5,000 feet, like where Kyle does the testing, it would probably get even better efficiency because the air is less dense. I will note that the wind here is pretty minor. We're at about 5 mile an hour wind. I didn't notice the direction, but since we're doing a loop style test, it counteracts it, and 5 mile an hour is pretty minimal in the grand scheme of things. So we're 23 miles back to the starting point, but we're definitely going to be going past that because that will put us only about 90 miles driven, and we have approximately 130 to do today. So lots of driving still to do. Well, I missed 100 miles, but we're at 101.2 miles at 25% state of charge. So still another 15 miles to go. We're past our starting point. We're still just driving on. We'll probably turn around another, I don't know, 5-10 miles, something like that, because we're still on track for about 130 miles. And I am blown away so far. So we're just going to continue on holding steady at 80 miles per hour. We're driving past Giga, Texas here in Austin. It is just massive. We're exiting at 110 miles driven, 21% remaining, with 23 miles back to the charging station. So we're going to be flipping around, and then that should put us back with roughly 10% arrival. So pretty impressed so far. 2.9 miles per kilowatt hour. It's actually been kind of creeping up. So we've got a little bit of an exit here, and then we have another turnaround point, it looks like. So makes it nice and easy to get right back on and get right back up to speed. Yep, there you can see the U-turn only, which is such a weird thing. Texas roads are different, to say the least. So doing the U-turn, and I'll see you guys back when we cross from 11% to 10% at 80 miles per hour. Well, we're 2.6 miles away from our starting point. We've driven 130.7 miles, and we're at 11% state of charge. 2.9 miles per kilowatt hour, which is actually better than I expected. It's been increasing slowly over the course of this test. And we're gonna be crossing to 10% shortly, so that's why I'm recording here. Looks like we might even get to 132, 133, something like that. Very curious to see what this result ends up being. And we're just gonna keep holding steady at 80 miles an hour. Lanes here. Overall, very impressed with this. We're already on track for this being the best non-Lucid, non-Taycan test so far. So very, very impressed with that. So 132 miles there. We're coming into a little bit of traffic. There we go, 10%, 132.2 miles. Well, in conclusion, I think 130 miles is extremely, or over 130 miles is extremely impressive on one of these EV6s. You can get these used in the low $20,000 range now, or you can do some crazy lease specials. I think if you're in the market to buy one, unless there's some pretty strong incentives, it's probably not the best purchase at list price, but definitely the incentives, the lease deals, the used market on these makes it a pretty incredible buy. Would love to hear what you guys think. If you have any thoughts, comment down below. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. See you guys on the next one.